Well, hey, I'm Alex with Southeastern Bow Hunting, and I want to talk to you a little bit about scouting for turkeys. Now, in the 15 plus years that I have been turkey hunting, I have learned one really important thing, and that is if you go into turkey season without really knowing where turkeys are, how they use a certain landscape, you're most likely going to end your opening day alone, walking back to the truck with your tail between your legs and wondering what happened, where are all the turkeys. It takes a lot of planning to really be successful in turkey hunting. Now, yes, you can go out to the woods, you can strike up a gobble, and you can make it happen. But those opportunities and that success rate, it is few and far between. That is typically not going to happen. We see a lot of it on YouTube, but we're seeing it a lot of times from guys who are hunting just about every day. So, of course, if you're out in the woods every day, eventually you're going to look up, find a bird, and you're going to get a bird to come in. However, if that's not you and you're like most guys and you're only going to be able to hunt maybe on the weekends or maybe every couple of weekends or something like that, and turkey hunting is short, so if that's what you're doing, then you really need a plan if you want to be successful. So I want to walk you through two different scouting sessions that I've done. Now, one of them was on public land, and I've gone there twice now. So I guess that would be two different sessions on that one. And I located birds day one, and then I put out cameras day two, and I was able to kind of, correlate a few things with the sign and then what I actually saw. And then the second is going to be private land, which I'm still here on this piece of private land. And I was actually able to locate some birds here today. I heard a lot of them gobble. They weren't super close by to me. I knew the land here pretty well, so I actually got to sneak around a little bit, and I kind of got to observe a flock from a distance. So I've already got some intel, but my scouting here is not over, and my scouting on that public land is not over. Now I'm way ahead of the game on that public land because not only did I put my eyes on them, I found a lot of sign for where they like to use. I found some spots way away from the road where they like to use, but I put out cameras and I've got them on camera. Now they're not on camera every single day, and I haven't completely pinpointed exactly where they're roosting, but I'm getting close. Now on this private land, same thing. I know where they are. Now I've got experience with this land. I've hunted here the past couple of seasons, and I've had some success. Now what has happened here recently is they've come in. This is a lease, so the owners have brought in a timber company, and they've absolutely decimated the landscape. I mean, they've cut timber out everywhere. So the turkeys, they're not going to be using the land like they did the past two seasons. So I really have to hone in on where they are. So today I got some intel. And I put out some cameras, put out a couple blinds at some locations where we know they typically like to go, but we're going to have to monitor that. And I'm going to come back next weekend and I'm going to sit in a different location to listen for gobblers because I'm going to really try and hone in on where exactly they are roosting. Now, if you're new to turkey hunting, or maybe even you've got a few years experience, but you're just not quite sure, where to go look for birds, what kind of sign you're looking for, then I want to help you out. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look for turkey habitat. Now, turkeys love to roost over water. Doesn't matter if it's a pond, a creek, down in a creek bottom, a river bottom. They love to roost over water. They love to get out in fields. If you're in ag country, they love to get out in fields. They love to scratch. They love to mill around. They love to eat. Turkeys walk all day. They walk around, they feed, they'll lay down in the shade, but they're going to move all day. Now, turkeys don't only like to roost over water and hang out in creek bottoms and then walk out in fields. Obviously, if you're in hill country, you got a lot of ridges, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pinpoint where the turkeys are because they've got so much landscape to cover. And you don't really have one central location like an open, like a wide open field or something like that where you can get out, find sign, and you kind of know, hey, I bet they're coming here every day. Let me put out some cameras. Let me scout it out, that kind of thing. In hill country, you're going to want to be looking for sign like scratchings. You're going to want to find some really scratched up areas where they've moved the pine straw, they're feeding a lot, maybe a lot of their scat. If you're not exactly sure what turkey scat looks like, Google it. It looks pretty unique to other animals, so it should be pretty easy to notice what that is when you're looking for it. And obviously, you want to scout audibly. You want to go out early morning where you think there might be turkeys, and you want to just listen. You want to be there 30 minutes to an hour before daylight so the woods can kind of calm down if your vehicle kind of woke the woods up a little bit, and you just want to sit there quietly You can get on, if you're in ridge country, you want to get in a high area. If you're, near a creek bottom, a field edge, something like that, just sit and be quiet. Let the sun start to come up and listen for gobbles. If you hear gobbles, you already know they're roosting in that direction. If you can't exactly tell where it is, then you're going to have to, maybe look on your map, look on your Spartan Forge app, and try and locate. Hey, is there water over there? Is there a creek bottom? What is it? Is it a field? Because they won't just roost over water. Sometimes they will roost on a field edge, and they'll pitch back down, fly down the next morning. So you just gotta start from square one. You're looking for sign. For me, I'm not going to go out to an area and just listen for gobbles to begin with. I'm going to get out there. If I want to get up that early, then I'll do that. But I really want to know that there's turkeys in the area first, and I'm going to go look for sign. I'll look for tracks in the mud. I'll look for scratching. I'll look for scat. If I locate some of that, then I'm going to make a trip out and listen for gobbling, try to locate where they're roosting. Now, when I hear them roost in the morning, if it's before the season starts, I'm not going to just bum rush them and run over there and say, oh, I got to see where they're roosting, because I don't want to bump them out of there. I don't want to cause them to do anything different in the weeks to come. So what I'll do is I'll typically give them some time. I'll listen for more gobbling. I will not call to them before the season with a turkey call, because what you'll do is you might end up making them call shy, or you might call them to you and they see you, they spook, they start to associate your calling, with a human. So what I'll use is a locator call. The locator calls are great for causing a turkey to shot gobble early morning. Whenever it's the time, right when it starts to get gray out, starts lightening up a little bit, you can use an owl hoot. A lot of times they'll shot gobble to that. And that'll kind of give you a location on them. Also, early morning, late evening, midday, you can hit them with a crow call, and that'll cause them to shot gobble. That way you're able to kind of locate, hey, this is the direction they're in, so that you can go back there later, or you can go back there another day, and you can start looking around for signs. See if you can locate where maybe they're scratching a lot, they're feeding a lot, and you can say, okay, this is an area where they probably like to go. Because the thing with turkeys, especially if you're on unpressured land, if you've got your own piece of private land, and the turkeys aren't getting bothered there, they're gonna go to the same locations and do the same stuff just about every day. They like to have a route. They walk all day. They might go to this field early morning. They might fly down out of the creek bottom, walk up to this field early morning. Then they cut into the woods in this general area. They feed around through the woods on their way to this open spot, or this old logging road, and then they kind of walk out there strutting in the logging road, for an hour or so, and then they make their way back through the woods, and they eventually make their way back to that field. So they like to have a routine and a route. So if you see a lot of turkey sign, there's a good chance that's not a one-off thing. They're probably using that, consistently. So that's the type of area you want to scout out and say, okay, is there somewhere for them to fly down nearby? Or could they just be coming here at noon? Are they roosting here? Those are questions you need to start asking. If you have cell cameras, they're great to use in a situation like that, where you're not exactly sure where the turkeys are, but they're using this area. You can set out a cell camera, and it'll start to paint a picture. What times are they using it? Now, on public land or some big woods situation, you're probably not going to get pictures every single day unless you're set up right where they typically roost. So you just kind of have to start painting the picture. Hey, how are the turkeys using this area? Cell cams are a really big part of my scouting strategy, and they really make the difference. I know not everyone can have cell cams, not everyone can have cameras, and you don't have to have them. If you don't have them, you really have to put in a little bit more work with the scouting and make more trips out there to really put the pieces together, where you can observe the turkeys, actually get your eyes on them. Start making notes. What time are they here? What time did I see them come out onto this logging road? And so that's how you really start putting the pieces together. So that's what I'm doing on that piece of public land. That's what I'm doing here on this private land. This private land is definitely going to be a little bit easier for me. It's extremely unpressured. I've got a history with this land. I already know the turkeys are still here. They're still using it. They're not using it in exactly the same way in the same places. So I'm going to paint that picture for myself. But come opening day, which here where I am is in about 10 or 11 days, I hope that my work is going to pay off. I'm going to get a bird in front of me, and I'm going to be able to get it done. Now on public land, I'm hoping the same thing. Opening day on that piece of public that I'm scouting, it's about 10 days out from that. So I've got about 3 weeks or so before the opening day on that piece of public land when I'm really going to try and get it done. Now there, you know, I'm battling other hunters. That's the thing with pressure. It moves birds around, and that's not an area on public land. It's not an area where there's fields. Where I'm hunting, there's not any fields. It's just kind of open country. There's a mix of hardwoods, pines. You know, there's creeks that run through it. I have found one really open stretch of land, and I do believe the turkeys are probably roosting around there because it's real wet, but I haven't been able to fully locate their roost spot. And they're not always going to roost in the same tree. I mean, sometimes that happens, but if they roost in that general area, then you know that would be good enough for me to know. So that's a little bit about scouting for turkeys, and just how important it is to do that, to have a game plan. So if you go into the season, or you see this video and your season has already started and you're thinking, well, I can just get out there and hunt. Here's the thing: if you don't know that a piece of property has turkeys, or maybe you've seen a turkey on a property before when you were deer hunting or something, if you have no idea how they're using it, or where they are, especially on public land, you'd be wasting your time to just go sit and hope that you're going to call one in. It could happen for sure, but on public land, it's a lot harder to call in a turkey than it's going to be on private land where they're on pressure. If you're on private land, you know, your odds of success go up a little bit, but still, you would be using your time wisely to, especially if it's during the season, to get really stealthy, to go out, listen for gobbles. If you don't hear some, that doesn't mean there's no turkeys there. It just might mean the weather's bad, or they just aren't gobbling that morning, which does happen. It'll be worth your time to look on the map, find some water, find some area with a lot of pines, a mixture of pines and hardwoods where, you know, there's going to be food for them to eat. There's going to be a lot of area that they can walk around and scratch in, open areas. You know, they typically don't like to get in thick, nasty stuff like deer like to bed in thick, nasty stuff. Turkeys typically want to be able to see, because that's how they stay alive. They stay alive by their eyes. Their eyes save their lives every day. So they want to be able to see a little bit of that, a little bit. And that's one reason they like to get out in fields and big open areas and things like that. So it would do you well if you don't have turkeys located, to make sure that you locate turkeys, or at least know that you're in the ballpark with them before you actually decide to make a setup and try and call turkeys in. So even if the season is started, make sure that you're spending your time finding turkeys before you actually get set up. Now, I hope this was helpful. If you thought this was helpful, and you want to tag along for the journey this season and see if I'm able to get it done, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Turn your notifications on, like the video. I really appreciate all the support, and happy hunting to you, and good luck this season.